camera a little. I'm Susan Smith and welcome. I'm glad you stayed around for the minute that I was late. Grandbabies are still here, so you know there's a lot of hustle and bustle going on in the house, and trying to get ready to come on air is sometimes fun. But here I am. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about one of my favorite ways to hang quilts. There are multiple ways, and we'll talk about a couple low-tech ones and a couple higher detailed ones, and I'll show you my favorite hanger that a friend made for me. So there's a whole bunch of you on, I see now. So let's get started. Once again, I'm Susan Smith. You're in my studio, Stitched by Susan. Today's the 21st of April, and for the month of April, I'm coming on YouTube Live each day, talking about different, usually machine quilting topics, but today it happens to be about hangers, so that will appeal to everyone. So I see a few of you coming in. Linda in Michigan. More comments will come. It takes a minute for them to start going up on the screen. And by the way, the quilt that's over my shoulder, you've seen for the last, I don't know, 4 mornings. I've been saying every day, I'm gonna get it done, I'm gonna get it done. The good news is, it is finished quilting. I just haven't dismounted it or hung the next one yet, but it is finally finished. Thought I might never get done. Cassandra in Texas, boy, the interwebs are slow this morning. Melissa in Maryland. Anyway, we'll just go ahead. I appreciate you all chiming in. It's so nice to go back and read the comments and see where all people are tuning in from. But let's talk about hanging quilts. I know you see them behind me a lot of times when I have my live and unscripted episodes that are typically Friday mornings. I usually have different quilts hanging behind me from time to time. If you attended the workshop that I held last weekend, you saw a quilt hanging behind me. So my very easiest and very lowest tech way of hanging those quilts, and this is often what you're seeing, is simple thumbtacks. So if the whole quilt is showing, I have a box of clear thumbtacks, so they're the least visible. And I just put them, depending on the size of the quilt, you know, maybe 8 inches apart, maybe closer if it's a heavier quilt, so that I don't get, you know, swoopy scallops between the thumbtacks. I try to be very gentle with those because they are piercing through the quilt and I don't want to actually cut fibers. So I wouldn't do that with my finest quilts is all I'm saying. For couch quilts, it seems to be fine. And I don't typically let those hang for long periods of time because that weight on the thumbtack points is not ideal. You will get little sags happening in the quilt. So most ideal then would be some type of hanger that literally pinches the whole quilt so that there's even tension on the whole thing, and that's what it hangs from, right? So there are various quilt hangers on the market. I bet lots of you have some and know some great ideas. I'd love to hear about some of those too, but I'm going to show you my favorite, and it is right here under my arm. This kind of has a story behind it. I started by purchasing one from, I think it was an Etsy seller, and they were handmade. It was a little family business, and that's what this originally was. But when it came, I wasn't 100% thrilled because it was just 2 slats of wood, and it did not have this groove. It was just 2 slats of wood, and then on the back, as you can see, there's recessed screws that you can do up with an Allen wrench, so they're all across the quilt. So you had to lay it on the floor, you had to get the quilt on there, and because there was no groove, you had to eyeball getting the quilt straight across the bar and then get it all in place with an Allen wrench, so it was a little bit unwieldy to do. And then because there is some thickness where the binding of the quilt is, that caused those 2 slats to not fit together smoothly. So right away I realized having this space for the binding to lay in is absolutely critical. So lucky me, I have a woodworker friend, so he rejigged this for me and then made me an additional one. So he routed out this little groove from both pieces, and I just quickly whipped it back together this morning. I see I don't have it lined up quite exactly straight, but he routed out this little groove on both sides, so that's where my binding lays, and it makes it much easier to get the quilt in place too. I still have to do it on the floor, but I can kind of lay, you know, the binding right in that groove, and it stays put while I lay the next layer on and tighten down my Allen screws. And I typically put right and left ends on and then fill in the middle ones as I go. He also put on the far end and on this end, there's this little metal hook, and it's an oval that goes right down under the screw. I couldn't both show you this screwed shut and show you that open, so you're gonna have to take my word for it. On the far end, it is closed and I've got a string tied around it. You're seeing my string here. It's attached at the other end. But on this one end, he put a hook, and this was at my request. Here's the other end of my string, okay? Can you see I've got more than one knot on there? That is because for me, and for this particular rack, it hangs in my living room. And I do different sizes of quilts on it. So at times for a larger quilt, I want it to be pulled higher up. For a smaller quilt, I might want it to be a little lower down for a pleasing, spacing on the wall from top to bottom. So this knot and this hook allows me to just tack it in there. Now, I do have a string that hangs or else it lays along the top. I've come to grips with that. I'm okay with that for the adjustability factor. If you didn't want it to be adjustable, you could do the closed hoops on both ends. You could trim off your string neatly by the knot, and that would be that. That's up to you. Anyway, and then I have this just very kind of whitewashed finish. That was my choice. You could have whatever finish you like. I do a lot of lighter quilts, so I prefer that, and my walls are light. So I wanted it to be very unobtrusive. So that's my favorite hanger. So the other thing I did was I had my friend Ron make me 2 sizes. So this one is about 60 wide because I do have a lot of, kind of smallish lap-sized quilts that I make. In the thumbnail picture that I posted on this episode, you see my The Mountains Are Calling quilt. That pattern, by the way, is by Janet Nesbitt of One Sister Designs. And it fits perfectly on this little rack. But then I also have this quilt that's hanging behind me. I've got an 82-inch hanging bar so that I have the option of hanging much larger quilts as well. So those are my 2 options. So I'm curious how you guys hang quilts in your home. What are some of your favorite methods? Let's scroll back through the comments. Maryland, Colorado, Saskatchewan, Ohio, Ontario, Arizona, Virginia, Nashville, awesome. Grant is going to LQS today, yay! That's awesome, it's a quilt show for those of you who don't know the initials. Sherry in British Columbia, Kathy in San Antonio, Shannon in Alaska, Barbara in Surprise, I love that name by the way, Barbara. Jean in Utah, John in Sun City West, Arizona, Linda in South Carolina. Barbara Hill uses a hang it, dang it. Okay, I've never heard of that one, but I'll be Googling it, trust me on that. Luda in Connecticut, Linda in Regina, that's Saskatchewan for those of you who don't know. So I'm not hearing many people with different ideas, but I think a good place to look, honestly, is Etsy because you get artisans there who do different things and are woodworkers and make all kinds of different designs. Ann Erickson is saying she uses curtain rods. I didn't really talk about that, but it is certainly an option to have some kind of rod and then the type of hooks that have, little alligator type clips. The reason that I don't love those is because it inevitably hangs out some inches from the wall. But if you've got the space for that or wherever you're hanging it, that looks good. That certainly is an inexpensive and easy way, and it's easy to change out the quilts as well. So I have done that certainly when I'm doing photography. I have a mobile, kind of on tripods rod with hooks. It's been a great way to do photographing of quilts for me from time to time. But in my living room is quite small and compact. And so I do like this rail that hugs right close against the wall. That's just, my preference. So that's hanging quilts. So for today, I'm gonna keep it short because again, the grandbabies are waiting. We're going to the park today to play some more, run off some more energy. But I did wanna let you know, I've been talking all this week about my Freehand Quilting Masterclass, which is a huge online course that teaches the art of quilting, mostly edge-to-edge designs, but all freehand designs. So the art of doing it, some of the techniques, some practice methods that I use, and my thought processes behind coming up with designs, converting things that I see, ideas that I see, into things that I can then quilt. The idea being, not only do you get this repertoire of 30-some designs, but now you can go out and think of your own designs. And it gives you a springboard and maybe wings. I'm mixing metaphors now. Anyway, officially enrollment on that closed Wednesday evening. But in fact, because I'm the only person at this end, I have not yet turned off the purchase buttons. I had a few people emailing me again yesterday. This happens every time I launch the course. A few more people, can I still get in? Can I still get in? So it is still open this morning. It will be sometime this afternoon until I get all those buy buttons turned into waitlist buttons. So if you do still want to get in, you still absolutely can. I will let you know if this is not the right time for you. I support you 100%. I will be offering this again. I currently plan to do it in approximately November. So it's not going anywhere. But if you decide to purchase now, you do have access all the time to all the lessons. So that option is there too. So entirely up to you, whatever fits for you. But I have put the link below, signup.stitchbysusan.com. It's in the show notes if you want to read more information about it, or if indeed you do want to sign up. There is still a little bit of time left today. So let's see what else we've got here. Hello in Germany. Sherry, I don't have a lot of wall space, so I hang them over the banister. That's a great idea, Sherry. Another great way to display them. Kathy put sleeves on hers, and I've seen different ways of doing that, and I won't get into that this morning because there's multiple ones. Ways to have slim profiles, you know, that fit right against the wall, that sort of thing, but that's a great idea too. I'm too lazy to put sleeves on all of them, just saying. Tina in Wisconsin. Janice, I have a metal door and use magnets to hang my small quilts on it. How absolutely ingenious is that? Not many of us have metal doors, but still, that works great for you. Melanie Taylor, hey y'all from Southern California. Linda, my son's made a display hanger for me that has LED lights shining down. It's gorgeous. Oh, that's extra special to have lights that shine on it. Oh, that gives me ideas. Thanks for sharing that one. I'll pass that on to the husband in the wish list. Anyway, I gotta run for today. Whatever you're doing today, enjoy it thoroughly, and I will check back in with you tomorrow. Have a great day.